Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a very special episode of Bella Talks TV, coming to you from this beautiful remote location in Costa Rica. I am sticking with my 2025 goals here, and my number one goal is going to be to just always podcast no matter where I am, no matter what I have going on, and keeping with this consistency, because I have to laugh to myself thinking in 2025 we were going to be traveling less, slowing down to smell the roses, when it really seems like we're actually ramping up to have a busier and even more robust schedule than ever in 2025. So I can't complain. I'm very happy to be out and about and doing things. I mean, this is such a beautiful place, and it's crazy to think that I can be anywhere in the world and be thinking about Bravo, but that's exactly the type of person that I am and the reason why I started this podcast. So let's get right into it this week. Now, I could not really get my pulse. I couldn't get my finger on the pulse enough for you guys to really understand like what is the most talked about moment. Like right now I'm kind of jumping in and out of being on Instagram, being on TikTok, seeing some of the clips of the shows that I've been missing, because again, today is, Tuesday, January, let's see, 15th, or no, it's Wednesday the 15th. And I'm missing some shows. I'm going to be missing some of the shows. I didn't get to see Married to Medicine on Sunday. I didn't get to watch the Real Housewives of New York penultimate episode, which I thought it was the finale this week, which I'm really glad I didn't miss that last night. Because even though everyone's talking so much shit about RHONY, I have been watching, and I will not give up. I will not back down. So I'm suffering through it. And if I have to do it and talk about it, then everyone else should. So I, practice what I preach. I watch all of the shows. I'm not trying to be, too good for some of the Housewives, some of our Bravo programming. I'm going to get into all of it today. So even though I haven't seen some of the latest episodes, let me just kind of go through some of what the rumors and what the online fodder sounds like. And then also, I'm just curious what you guys are thinking about some of this stuff, because this is just not your typical week, like in the news. It just isn't. We have a lot of off-screen drama. We have a lot of rumors and a lot of unconfirmed things. So a lot of the things that we're talking about this week are just not our norm moments that we're here to recap and go over on the podcast. So I'm not really going to do a top 5 OMG LOL this week. We will return to our true form next week when I'm back in the US. But I do want to just run through some of these hot topics. And how could I not take advantage of just shooting a video here? I'm hoping to be, like, next week I'm going to be in Las Vegas. Then I'm going to be gearing up to go on my first cruise ever to St. Martin, St. Thomas, the Dominican Republic, some places I've never been. So I'm really excited to go on that cruise. And then I have things planned in Michigan over the summer. I'm going back to see my family, and it's just really never going to end. So I hope you guys are here along with this ride. You never know where you're going to see me. It's kind of like where's Waldo? It's like, where's Amanda Bella? Like, where am I going to be every time I record this episode? You just never know where I'm going to be. So thanks for being on the journey with me. Let's get right into my notes this week. So like I said, I'm going to just go down my list of stuff that I feel like we haven't got a chance to talk about yet on here. I had planned on doing my regular scheduled episode last week, and it just got away from me. To be completely honest, like when I take my dog to the dog sitter, like when I take Candy and drop her off, like I had planned on like taking her, dropping her off, coming back, like recording an episode before we left, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Like I get so sad and depressed when I drop her off at the dog sitter. I get so scared that she's going to think that I've like given her up. She's going to think that I'm never coming back. And I just was too depressed to record an episode before I left. So another reason why this is a little bit of a jumbled mess, but again, thank you guys for being here. And if you are following me on Instagram, which if you're not, what are you doing? Please go follow me at Bella Talks TV. Again, I'm still on TikTok for these next 4 days until we find out if this ban is actually going to happen. I have been holding myself back and creating a lot of content there and just saving my energy for other stuff, just to see if it is going to go away, if it is going to become irrelevant. So we have to wait and see. But we have that going on. And yeah, there's just like a lot of different factors going into what we are talking about this year. Like it is only the 15th of January. And doesn't it feel like every year for the last few years, at least since 2020, we've been like, oh my God, how much more can we take? Like the first 2 weeks of January are crazy. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like when things are feeling a little tumultuous. I mean, we're going to talk about the fires. We're going to talk about some of the other drama going on. But I'm hoping that you guys are using this as an escape. I mean, I'm not sure how many listeners I do have. If you are in the LA area and you are a listener, please send me a message. I would like to somehow find a way to connect with people that are actually living there to see what I can do to help. I feel like when I'm posting things online, it just like goes out into the abyss. And I don't even know how many people that follow me are actually like able to use the information for the LA fires. And I want to be able to really make it count where I'm going to be giving my energy and my money, to be completely honest. So I really would like to connect directly with people that have been affected instead of giving them to these larger corporations, these larger relief funds. I just don't trust them. I never will. I know it makes me sound like a bad person. Like when we go to the Walgreens and it asks you to round up, it's like, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I mean, I always do, because first of all, who like wants to get change back anyway? Always round up my change. But it's like, I just feel like something's like fishy with some of that. And it kind of reminds me a lot of the LA relief, because it's like, why am I donating to this when our tax dollars, it's like, I cannot get into this, but you guys can tell where I'm going with this. So I just want to make sure that my reliefs are going to the right area. And I would love to find a way to help anybody who has been directly affected. So again, please send me information or GoFundMes of people that you like actually know, because I'm just really scared of being taken as a fool. I don't like to get swept up in these things and be taken advantage of. So, all right, so let's get into it this week, you guys. Like I said, I'm going to just be kind of running down some hot topics and giving some flash opinions, because I don't have all of the information on a lot of these topics. And I don't, I'm kind of dipping in here in between being at the pool, being at the beach. Like, I just kind of want to touch base with you guys and like discuss what's going on, but I can't pretend to have all the information like I typically do. So let's get into it. Again, this is weird not doing like my top 5 countdown, but reality roundup style. So let's first talk about the Traitors. I have not got to talk to you guys about the season premiere of the Traitors. Now, I'm really, really proud of my husband, because he's never really been into reality TV or anything, but he promised he would watch the Traitors with me, and he was so obsessed with it. Like, when I tell you he was like clockwork oranging, like peeling his eyes open at night to like stay open to be able to watch it with me. Like, I'm really proud of him. I think it's great that we're like, I'm trying to get him into some of the stuff that he likes. And like, I go and I golf and I do the stuff that he likes. And we're trying in 2025 to support each other's hobbies and habits, even if it's reality TV. So the fact that he says that he loves it, and unfortunately, he's a huge Sandoval fan. He thinks Tom is like so funny, and he thinks everything he says is hilarious. I'm just like, okay, we don't have the time to like go back and educate you about all of this. But his favorites so far are Tom. He loves Bob the Drag Queen. He thinks he's hilarious. He's really into Boston Rob. I don't know if it's just like an East Coast bro thing, but he's like, oh yeah, Rob, that's my guy. Who else does he like? I think he likes Danielle, Traitor Danielle. I think he does like the game that she's playing. He loves Dorinda, and he was so depressed that she was voted first off. Like, what were they thinking? I think that I really do think the gamers think just what would be good for the game. Like, they're not thinking about what the fans want. They're not thinking about what would make good TV. Like, they really got her out as a good move as the Traitors to cause chaos and confusion, to get everybody in the house like worked up, to get people pointing fingers, to get people being upset and getting angry at everybody. Like, it worked. It was a great first murder to get this show off to the races, because we weren't really sure what was going to happen this season with Dorinda on there. I mean, there's been some BTS that has now been revealed, which has been really great. But it doesn't seem like they can drink there as much. Now it seems like they do have a 2-drink limit, and apparently it's only beer or wine. So seeing Dorinda on here in her like soberness only for one day, we didn't really get to see her have a ton of her like crazy drunken outbursts, but I'm not sure we would have got to see a lot of them anyway, is what I'm saying, because it seems like I mean, who knows? Because she already was able to pop off of that first episode without it. So I'm just not sure what we would have missed with Dorinda, but I think we all can collectively say, like, we were really bummed to see her be the first one get out. And then went Chanel Ayan. And I think that they should have kept Chanel. I actually think that she was a good pawn to keep into the game because nobody thought she was a traitor. Like, she just would have been good to use in different situations, maybe different alliances, different things to like in the games. Like, I think Chanel should have stayed around for a little bit longer, even though I'm not as big of a fan of her lately because for whatever reason, she decided to cling to Jennifer Aiden and Teresa as like her housewives in the US that she was going to really bond with and start hanging out with a lot. And I just am really disappointed by that choice. I don't know what she sees in them. And she's just very confused, I think. I don't think she realizes sometimes, like, it's like, okay, yeah, just because you are the biggest or OG or like kind of like biggest names that you've been on for a while doesn't mean you're like a great person to like hitch the wagon to. So I don't know. I think she just knew Teresa was like a big deal. And she was like, okay, if I stick with Teresa, like she'll get me in with all of the US housewives. I'm not sure like what her strategy was with that, but I don't think I can agree with any of that. So I was pretty sad to see Chanel go. Then there is the banishment where they decide to get rid of Tony and Wells. Two big misfires, getting rid of two big faithfuls that would have helped the faithfuls get to the end. I mean, so far they are eating out of the palms of the traitors. It's crazy, but I think that that's going to be very short-lived. Like, I think we start to see in the next couple episodes, like Danielle and Bob are both being so over the top. People are onto them. Jeremy's throw their names out. You know, people are starting to throw their names out. And we left off last episode with the Murder in Plain Sight challenge where they had to meet up in the wine cellar, have a secret meeting, and then choose three of the people to shortlist for murder. So they're going to put three people in the coffins, and then they're going to have to decide like who they want to put their nail into the coffin with. I mean, I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen because Gabby, I mean, you always have to kind of pay attention. Like, this is like one of the oldest reality TV tricks, right? Like, who's getting airtime, who's speaking a lot, who is like, even with the Bachelor, Bachelorette franchises and stuff, like there's always a couple of those girls or guys that first night that like, you don't know their name. They never really had any camera time. Like, and that's because they go home the first night. So the producers like don't even bother making you like learn about them. Kind of the same vibe goes on with this stuff. Like, you have to keep an eye for the people that aren't speaking at all. Like, we haven't heard Brittany Edie say very much. We didn't hear Chanel say very much. We really didn't see much from Wells before he was gone. Like, it's kind of this idea that those people they're not focusing on that much maybe just don't go as far in the competition. And as we move through these banishments and murders, of course, the group is going to start to dwindle. But I think that there's going to be certain people that just were on it and had a good idea and knew what to kind of look for in the game. And then there are people that are just throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what's going to stick, kind of like Sandoval. I mean, it was so obvious, right, that Sandoval was only putting Chrishell's name out there just to get her out so that she couldn't like get the rest of the house to hate him over the Ariana stuff. Like, sometimes the things are just like so obvious. But he is so stupid and he didn't realize. Now, do you guys remember that when he was there and he was filming, there was all that Billie Lee drama that she was going on podcasts, like exposing Victoria and Tom for being like vampires, staying up all night, partying. I mean, I 100% do believe that Tom is in some kind of withdrawal there. If he was using and being up and partying basically all night, every night with his girlfriend and then leaving to go cold turkey play this. I mean, he looks like shit. He looks puffy. He looks miserable. He looks like he has a headache. He looks dehydrated. He looks like he's really withered over there. And the only thing I can think of is that all that stuff that Billie Lee was saying was true. Now, he apparently didn't know about this going on there, but for some reason, I just don't believe that because Dylan Efron did confirm that they're allowed to have like a 10-minute phone call back home every day. And in the 10-minute phone call, you're allowed to, it's supervised, but you're allowed to discuss anything that isn't the gameplay. So when he was calling home, there's no way that he wasn't finding out that this stuff was going on. The very first episode of Traitors took 4 days to film. So that means for 4 days, the first 4 days that he was there, he was probably getting phone calls, figuring out that what was going on. Because remember, Billy Lee basically started going on this rant as soon as his plane took off from LAX to go to Scotland. So there's no freaking way in those first 4 days, 5 days of filming that he didn't know all that drama was going on back at home. He's also going through withdrawal. He was down bad. This was not a good situation for him. Which it's a little windy out here, and I'm really hoping the audio is going to be okay on this. We're going to have to see afterwards. So hopefully it just looks good, even if it doesn't sound good on the mic. But yeah, Traitors just really has me worked up. Like, I don't think Tom's going to be there that much longer. Everyone's like, oh, watch him win. No, I actually predict Tom getting out quite soon. Maybe not the next episode, but maybe the one after. I don't think that unless he really starts to like getting misfires and getting shots and really helping out the Traitors a lot, because of course you guys know the Traitors want to keep in faithfuls that are like wrong and loud because it helps them cover their tracks and it helps keeping everybody looking at people that are not the people they should be looking at. So unless Tom really starts to get into like a lot of drama, I just don't think that he's going to be there that much longer. Some of my predictions for people that do really well, I mean, unfortunately, Robin, I'm sorry. There's nothing that you guys, even if she's the last standing housewife, it's not going to get me to like her. I just don't. I just don't like her. I don't like the way that she played Housewives, and I actually don't like the way that she's playing Traitors either. I think that she is wrong a lot, right? Like, she hasn't put a lot of names out. She hasn't been correct about a lot of things. She hasn't been able to like sniff anybody out. So unclear why people are like standing her so much. Very unclear. So I think that's just because, yeah, they're just trying to like keep the housewives in there. I'm a little bit more into Dolores, but again, they're not showing Dolores very much in these first couple of episodes. She's not getting a bunch of confessionals. I just don't foresee her being there that much longer. I think Robin will outlast Dolo and then potentially just be to go on for a little bit longer in this group of faithfuls. I predict, let's see, who else was there? I definitely do predict, I predict Bob getting exposed as a traitor before Danielle. I predict Carolyn being the last standing original traitor. Rob also being there with her at the end. I see them kind of helping each other get to the end. Whatever that looks like. Again, these are just like totally random predictions. Ivar, I think he's going to be out soon because again, like he hasn't had like any confessionals. He hasn't really been involved in like any of the conversation. I think he's going to be gone soon. Yeah, I think Gabby's going to do well. Nikki Bella, that's another one. She's going to be gone soon, I think. Like they're just not, you can just tell that they don't have that main character energy and they're not focusing on them too much. So those are just some of my haphazard predictions for Traitors. Now, a little bit of some extra Traitors drama we have to get into, which kind of leads me into my next story, is, oh my God, if you guys are watching, like literally there are birds up in this tree. Like, unclear what's happening. I hope that they don't attack me. This is why I wanted to film out here because it's just like so random and particular to where I am. So, okay, so the next story I have to get into is Lindsay versus Dorinda. So there were rumors back at the beginning of this show when everything was being cast and everybody was getting ready. Now, again, remember, they don't leak who's in the cast until they leave for filming. And this is all to be able to keep them from understanding or being able to like reach out to each other. They don't even want people to be like, oh, Carolyn is on Traitors. So think you're going to be on Traitors, right? And you get the cast list and then you start going and watching all of Boston Rob stuff, all of Carol, like you start to like do research. Like they didn't want the cast members to be able to go and like review each other's bodies of work too much. They kind of wanted them to have just a blind eye coming in so that they don't know their person's behavior. They don't know that person's history so much unless it's just being told between the group. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Now, when they released the original group or whatever that Lindsay was going to be going to Scotland to be on Traitors, at the time she was pregnant. But producers didn't know. Lindsay announced that, or Lindsay found out that she was pregnant. I believe she said in March. And I can't recall when they did release the official, or when they went to go film. I mean, I guess I could look now. When did Traitors season 3 film? Okay. So the Traitors was announced on February 7th. No, that's not true. Is it? Okay, as you can tell, it's confusing. There's a lot of different dates online. It's a little bit confusing. So anyways, I don't believe at the time that she was cast that she knew she was pregnant. I do believe that she then finds out that she's pregnant in the time from when she was cast to the time that they were to leave for Scotland. So somewhere in those 8, and I believe in like about 8-week period, she finds out that she's pregnant. She said she was 5 weeks along when she found out she was pregnant. So she's 5 weeks along. She finds out she's pregnant. And then she has full intentions on going to Scotland and performing and playing this game. Now, the controversy is that this is really not a game for pregnant women. It's physical challenges. It's high stress. It's just like not the place for someone to be pregnant. And I think that that's a totally valid and fair. It's not to say, oh, because you're pregnant, you can't like go grocery shopping, or because you're pregnant, you can't like, it's like, this is a very specific thing that you should not be doing when you're pregnant. And that's like, okay to say. Pregnant women are very capable of doing many things. I don't think competing in physical challenges is one of them. So I think that, you know, it was right for it to be exposed that Lindsay was indeed pregnant and planning to do this show. I just think that that is like weird and wrong that she would prioritize being a reality TV star over like the health and well-being of her baby, unborn baby, which again, she has allegedly suffered a miscarriage previously. So if you've already gone, which I'm sorry, you guys, like, I have alternate theories on that, and I'm not going to get into them today, but like, I'm not 100% sure that I believe that anyway. There's just certain behavior traits, and I'm sorry, this is like a safe space. If you guys know, I don't think that any of you are surprised to hear me talking about this about Lindsay. I mean, again, I said my New Year's resolution was going to be to not talk about her and her baby, but here we are because her and her mouth got her back into the news this week. So it wasn't like I went searching for this. But she pretty much says that Dorinda was the one that exposed the fact that she was pregnant. She had been drunk at a party, apparently, telling people at Margaret Joseph's party, telling people that she was pregnant and that she had suffered a miscarriage. You know, obviously, Dorinda talking about her body in any way like this is really not okay. I'm not condoning that. But I do think that her intention was in the right place of like to call her out and be like, okay, what are you doing? Basically, why are you even considering doing this? Somebody who's already gone through a pregnancy loss to be pregnant again. Like, I'm going to have to just assume that it's a very scary time that you are like, okay, I would almost think I would not even leave my bed. Like you're so scared to do anything again, to cause another miscarriage and go through that trauma again. So all of it is very confusing, and it's just not acting. She's not acting the way that somebody who's had pregnancy loss before should act. Not to be like that, but she's just not acting that way. And maybe it's defense mechanism. Maybe it's some kind of like coping thing that some kind of wall she's put up. But I just don't see that, how that could be. I just don't see it like that. I think that she was like, okay, I can go, I can perform. Nobody will ever know. I can go do this show. And by the time I come back to the US, like I'll just continue to do it. She was probably thinking about a paycheck. She was thinking about continuing to stay relevant. She was thinking about how she's probably not going to be on Summer House that much longer. I mean, she only has so many ways to continue to let her 15 minutes of fame stretch. And before she just becomes another, discarded reality TV star. So I don't blame her for like gripping onto her last couple of seconds, but to put the risk of the child at hand, I mean, it's just not something that I'm going to be able to say that I agree with. So I think Dorinda, although not great, I think that obviously, like, how did Dorinda know that Lindsay was pregnant? I think Lindsay must have told her, right? Like, how would Lindsay or how would Dorinda know? Like, somebody must have told her. So I need more information about how Dorinda found out that she was pregnant. If Lindsay was going to her and telling her this before they left. I'm just not sure like how this all went down, and we need a little bit more information before we fully point fingers. I think they're both kind of wrong for this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't think Dorinda should have called it out or made it her business, but I also think that she potentially like saved a life. So I'm kind of like, okay, good job, Dorinda. Sometimes we don't know what's best for us, and we do need a mother figure or somebody to step in and be like, hey, this is like not a good idea. Lindsay, I don't think has a lot of guidance like that. Doesn't seem like she honestly has a lot of friends. Just saying that. I even was thinking about how she even filmed this past season. She actually completely just pulled a Lala move where, remember when Lala went on Watch What Happens Live and she's like, yeah, we're not really friends. Like none of us speak off camera. Like there's not really much story to tell. And then all of a sudden Vanderpump Rules got canceled. Lindsay just did the same thing on Amanda Hirsch's Not Skinny But Not Fat podcast. She pretty much was like, yeah, because Amanda asks her, well, Lindsay, like, do you see a world where maybe you're just a friend of the Summer House and not a full-time cast member? And Lindsay herself says, well, like, who would I be a friend of? So she's right. She's not even friends with any of these people. So therefore, why is she in this house anymore? I just am so over her. Oh, I thought in 2025 I was going to be getting less of her, and it just seems like it's going to be the torture that keeps torturing. So just had to bring up that story briefly because I'm not really sure like what else is going to come out about it. This just broke like this morning, last night. Some things started getting posted after she was on the podcast revealing the story. Dorinda has replied and said that these rumors are 100% false and she had nothing to do with this. So I'm going to just need more information. But what do you guys think? I mean, I know that I have very strong opinions about what people are willing to do to be reality TV stars, exposing their families, exposing their children, using their own traumas. I mean, this is a really dark part of reality TV and like what people are willing to do to be famous. So I just feel like some of these stories, like some of these things are things that she should just keep to herself. And it's like, we don't have to know everything, and not everything's going to make you like look better. And not everything's going to like, some things just make things more confusing. So one thing that we love about both Lindsay and Dorinda is that they don't really think before they speak, but like, when you get two people going back and forth that are like that, like they're so much alike. And again, I just always have to say this. I think I'm doing like reverse manifesting where I'm like, keep Lindsay off RHONY. Keep Lindsay off RHONY. Keep Lindsay off RHONY. Keep Lindsay off RHONY. I made a joke yesterday about how maybe they should bring Dorinda to RHONY and Lindsay, and they've already got this like pre-baked feud going on. But I'm kidding. I don't think that they could ever film a TV show together. Like who would be the other cast members? Like Paige and Dorinda hanging out having martinis. No, I just don't think that any of these are really going to like cross over like that. I am scared that Lindsay's going to end up on RHONY. I think that like, I can't win every battle, you guys. I got Crystal off of Real Houses of Beverly Hills. I felt really good about that one. That was one small battle that I won. But in return, you know, we're getting Dorit. Dorit was somebody that I like stuck up for so hard and went hard for in the paint. And we are getting her to be like the queen of the season, which is great. There's just certain people that I'm like, oh, I can't really fuck with them. And she's one of them. So that whole situation, I just am not sure what I really think. I'm not really like team Lindsay or Dorinda yet. I'm team like they're both unhinged blondes. And I don't think we need either of them really to be on Bravo anymore. I think there's a reason. I think they should both just stay on pause. And I hope that they take note. Now, the only thing I will say is that if Lindsay does become capable of talking about her baby daddy, she does call him her boyfriend. So I guess it is her boyfriend. I wasn't sure if they were like together. I think that she's confirmed that they are dating. They don't live together. Amanda asks her in this podcast episode, like, if you and homeboy don't end up together, like you're ready to single mom it. And Lindsay's like, yeah, which is pretty obvious. I think that Lindsay was kind of looking at him a little bit. You know, I think Lindsay's kind of looked at all the men that she's dated as like potential just being a sperm donor. Like she's just really wanted to have a baby this whole time and wasn't really working on having good relationships. So that's a little bit scary to me because bringing a child into the world like that, like I don't know. It's really weird. I had posted this clip of Angelina from Jersey Shore discussing how Lala Kent has inspired her to also consider the route of being a solo single mother by choice, getting a sperm donor, raising the kid on its own. And, you know, of course people are like, well, what's worse? Like having a baby daddy that is a deadbeat dad? Like, of course that's so much worse than like not having a dad at all. It's like it's not like really made out of rejection. It's not like you have a father that rejected you. It's just this is going to be something that we're really watching develop in real time. Like we're living in a time now where women can just go out and have a child on their own without ever having any physical or emotional relationship with a man. So I'm just really unsure how this is all going to shake out and like we're going to have to wait to see what it's like for these kids to get old enough to be able to speak for themselves and speak on whether or not this has affected them. They're going to be the only ones that are really going to be able to say like, yeah, I wish I would have had a dad, either that or the opposite situation of like, yeah, no, I'm totally fine with never knowing. And my mom is everything to me. I imagine it will be somewhere in between and not every situation is going to be the same. But we now have Gigi from Shaws of Sunset that has done this. We have Lala. We have Angelina talking about it. I mean, women are really considering this. And I shared some of my personal opinion that I actually find that to be very sad. That's just my opinion. I don't find that to be inspiring. I don't find that to be like, I just think that that's really sad. I think that for people to think that they're so fed up or they're so incapable of being able to have a relationship with somebody enough to be able to co-parent or get married and have a child as a married couple. Like, it's just like to me, it kind of is like, you really gave up. Like you totally just aren't willing to do what I would think the work would be to be able to have a good relationship. That way you have a partner in life that supports you and is your like person. You know, you're like Lala's mom's not going to be alive forever. Like her brother, I'm sure he'll eventually get married and like have his own family. Like, don't some of these people like want to have a family and instead of just having kids? Like there's a big difference. It's like a big unit. So I don't know. I grew up in a family that my parents are still together. I'm very lucky. I don't come from money, but I did come up from a family that my parents were still together. And that to me was like, I would have much rather been poor with a loving example and a loving, healthy example of love in marriage than grow up rich and not have that example. So, can't have everything in life, but that's just my opinion. And I just kind of had to get that out there. So, okay, anyways, let's move on from all of the Lindsay drama. Let's pop over and talk about our Paige. So, as we know, Craig and Paige have broken up, and I posted it's a pro move to move on before you guys are even broken up. It's so clear to me that Paige, for months and months, has been feeling like she's been over Craig, and now that they're starting to do the internet sleuthing, we're finding out that Paige has pretty much had a man in her life for the last few months, even if just friends, even if just by knowing of the internet, even if just sending funny memes to each other. She's been in communication with somebody. And this person also broke off his engagement 3 months ago around the same time. So this is just things are just aligning too much for it, like not to make sense here. I do think there's some potential overlap, maybe not physically, but emotionally. And it seems like Paige is really into this guy named Joe D'Amelio, who is the VP of Clutch Sports, which is a sports marketing. And, I have some thoughts about this. One, Paige really is proud of being Italian and having this Italian, she wants to be like an Italian influencer. Like she's always talking about being Italian. She's very proud of being Italian. So for her to leave Craig and end up dating a guy named Joe D'Amelio, like a hardcore Italian person. Can't say I'm surprised. I feel like this is probably a better fit for her than some guy who's from Delaware / South Charleston or whatever, South Carolina. So I think that already this is probably a better pairing for her, just based on some of these preliminary things that we're discovering about this Joe D'Amelio guy. Now, one thing about him is that this man was engaged, and his ex, according to TikTok, I mean, she kind of looks like a hotter version of Paige to me. And I'm going to give Paige some credit here. Like, she's not filled with Botox. She's not filled with filler. She hasn't had a bunch of plastic surgery. She doesn't have a bunch of hair extensions. Like, she is a little bit more of a natural girly. And the funny thing is that a couple of months ago on Giggly Squad, she was hardcore debating getting a boob job. And she even talks about this on the most recent episode too of Giggly Squad, where she's like, yeah, I ultimately decided not to do it. But I think around the time that episode came out was probably around the time that she started getting into this guy, discovering this guy. And at the time he was engaged, or maybe just called off his engagement. Unclear. We don't have all of the timeline yet. But she kind of looks like Paige, Joe D'Amelio's ex-fiance, kind of looks like Paige if Paige had gone the route of getting filler and Botox and plastic surgery. She's like I don't want to say a hotter version, but just like a more like plastic version. And so I'm wondering if at the time Paige was feeling insecure about that and feeling like she needed to like alter herself to be like attractive to this guy. I mean, women, we do think these crazy things and we do crazy stuff to get men's attention. So I just can't help but think that Paige had her eye on this guy and maybe was like waiting for him to become single, or maybe did she know who he was before? Did Joe call off the engagement and then did he reach out to Paige? Did he start to like slide into her DMs and be like, hey, if you ever are single, like let me know? Because apparently he had slid into Teresa's DMs when she had broken off her marriage from Juicy Joe. And okay, if this guy is just going after like Italian girls, like Italian women on TV, Italians in reality TV, something is fishy going on with this Joe guy. Like, he sounds like an opportunist, right? Like, who goes from like going after Teresa to going after Paige? Like, it's too close for home. Like, those people have way too much in common for it to be a coincidence that it is just his type. I mean, how old is this guy? Where is he really like Teresa's age? I think he's only like 36 or something. So is he into like older women? Was he just trying to like get his name out there in the reality TV world because he wants to be like one of these guys? Does he want to be on fucking Summer House? Like, I don't know, but I'm seeing a billion red flags with this guy, and I think she's going to plow right through them because, again, there were a billion red flags with Craig, and she still pursued that. So I don't know. I already don't like this guy. If you can't tell, I already just feel like something fishy is going on here. And I think that was so insane that she went out with him so soon after the breakup. Like, truly a 11-day period between the breakup and going out in public. Like, that's disgraceful to me. If Craig was already out with a new girl, he would be getting eaten alive. And this is, of course, the double standards with men and women and all these problems that we face in our society. But I mean, what do you guys think? Are you here for all of this? Or I actually am feeling very sympathetic towards Craig now. Like, I don't know. I'm feeling a little bad for Craigie. So, okay, moving on from Paige, Lindsay, the Summer House drama. Let's touch base over in LA again. The fires have been absolutely devastating. The fact that they were man-made and we don't really have a ton of information on why this is happening. And there are tons of conspiracy theories, from them wanting to burn LA down to make all new construction and make it like a smart city. And because the Olympics are going to be there in the 2028, and there's all of these things about the underground bunkers that are there and the underground highways and the secret Starbucks. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go use the last 4 days of TikTok to educate yourself on all of these conspiracy theories before it's gone, because I do think that that's like a major reason why the TikTok ban is happening, is because they are trying to keep all this information out of our hands. And I mean, look what happened with Luigi. Like, they see now that they can't just tell us news anymore, that we're going to always come up with like our own opinions based on our own research, which is what the media hates. So Spencer and Heidi's house burning down has been just like that millennial pop culture. Like, Spidey was everything to me. And I, again, just like kind of going back to the crystal thing and about being right about Dory and just this idea, like, I just love when I pick like the right side of history. And I was always a Spidey girl back in 2005. I was into Kristen. I was a K-Cav girl. I was totally into Kristen Cavallari. Even when she was married to Jay Cutler, I was always watching Barry Cavallari. Like, I just was always a Kristen fan. Now, Kristen, well, which is so crazy, right? Because Kristen has hooked up with Craig. So I love how I tried to like change the subject, and really I'm still talking about the same circle of friends I was just talking about. Because all roads lead back. So Kristen supposedly hooked up with Craig. Everybody thought that she was hooking up with Austin, but she was actually hooking up with Craig. Remember when Paige confronted him in the summer house and was like, if you're still sleeping with Kristen, like, you cannot sleep with me. And he had to basically like break things off with Kristen. So Spencer and Heidi's house burns down. Nobody sees this coming. I see it's coming. Everyone's like, oh, I didn't have following Spencer Pratt on TikTok on my bingo card. I did. I've been following him. He was like one of the first people on TikTok I did follow. I've just always loved his content with the hummingbirds and the crystals and kind of who he became. I actually really loved when they did that Hills reboot too. It was only 1 or 2 seasons, but they brought Brody back. They had Spencer and Heidi back. Like, I loved when they did that. I was just never a Lauren Conrad fan. I hate like basic, boring white girls. I hate Stassi. I hate Lauren Conrad. I hate Taylor Swift. I don't like Lindsay. I don't like any of these girls that are just like, I just don't like those types of girls. Those are just not my cup of tea. So I was never an LC girly. I just always thought she was so freaking basic and so boring and just such a little crybaby, and was never into her. And it seems like as of even now, she's like one of the only people from the original. Like, we have Whitney Port. We had all of the other people that were from the Hills and from Laguna Beach, like supporting Spencer and Heidi. But of course, crickets from Lauren Conrad, like ridiculous. So basically the story is that Spencer and Heidi's house burned down. They were one of the first celebrities to lose their home in the Pacific Palisades fire. And the crazy part about this is, like, yes, I have a double-edged sword feeling about this. Like, it's hard to decide really where I feel, because of course I don't think that we should be focusing on just the celebrities in this situation. There are so many people that have lost their homes that weren't celebrities that need, help. But I do think that still these celebrities that lost their homes, that had their fire insurance canceled and dropped from State Farm, they too don't necessarily have the money to rebuild. So I actually do think my empathy and sympathy go out to anybody, celebrity or not, that has lost anything during the fire. So I don't want to say that celebrities are more important, they deserve more help or more attention. It's not like that. I think they all deserve to have somebody come in and help them. Now, I think it's okay to say that they're just not who they used to be, right? Spencer and Heidi, they have been very vocal about the fact that they were riding high. They were on top of the world. They were the number one most talked about reality TV stars back in the aughts. And they had a real fall from grace. Luckily, I think they were able to kind of purchase their home, and in ways of doing that, at least not be homeless, right? When they lost all their opportunities, they weren't on TV anymore. I mean, Heidi desperately started to try to become a pop star, and she's still trying to do that today. And I kind of like admire that. It's clear that she does it because she truly loves it, because I don't think up until this week they had ever like made $1 doing it before. But she does it just like how I do this podcast, right? Like, followers or no followers, subscribers or no subscribers, never made $1 from it. I'm still going to continue to do it every single week. And I think that that's how Heidi is with her pop career. But the good news is that throughout all of these efforts of them losing their home and becoming so exposed and having so many people find out about their loss, they've actually been able to get Heidi's pop album from 15 years ago to be #1 on the iTunes chart again this week. And I'm really happy for them. I am. I really feel like, this isn't the means of by which I'm sure she wanted to reach #1. I'm sure she would want to reach #1 out of people genuinely liking her music and wanting to support her career. But that's okay. Sometimes we get to the ends and that's okay, how we justify the means. I think that it's okay that people are only streaming their song because their house burned down and they want them to be able to make the money back and get some revenue, and they feel bad. And I mean, they've been entertaining us for almost 2 decades now. So I think that it's like the least we can do is be streaming Heidi's album. I'm a little bit sick of hearing it already. I think I'm a little burnt out on it already, but I'm going to continue to listen and stream because I do want to support them. And the songs are kind of bangers. They were ahead of their time. Back in 2000, whatever, when they got released, it wasn't so great. But now in the year of our Lord 2025, I mean, these songs are banging. So make sure that you guys are all streaming Heidi's records and just helping them rebuild. And also just make sure that you're being open to hearing stories from people, no matter who they are, what they lost, where they came from. I'm working on that myself as well. I think everybody deserves to feel traumatized by this, if they were affected by this, no matter what their status was. So thinking of everybody in LA. Now, speaking of LA, let's talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills quickly. Last night, there was a new episode that I didn't get to watch, but I kind of got the gist of what happened. And the biggest fight, going on right now, which is crazy, kind of reminds me of Puppygate, because Beverly Hills loves to do this. They love to have no storyline, but just have one little random stupid story that ends up making an entire season. And this time it's going to be whether or not Kyle and PK have a texting relationship. And this is becoming like all of the drama, all of the center of the fights for the season. And it was kind of exposed last night on last night's episode when Kyle decides to show Sutton and Garcelle and Erica, which I think is so insane. There's 2 good things about this. One, Bose and Dorit were obviously not there in the moment that she chose to show this, which I think is so stupid. Like, just show it in front of everybody, because like they said, oh, you're just going to show it to your girlfriends. They're going to be like, oh yeah, it wasn't that bad. Like Erica goes on to tell Dorit, like, oh, I read the text message and it wasn't really that bad, which is like a bold-faced lie. It's pretty bad. The text was pretty damning, because the text goes on to say, no matter what you tell me, PK, it will be safe with me, and stuff like that. Like, that is so inappropriate. If somebody was fucking texting my husband and telling him basically like, hey, it's okay to talk shit to me and I'll never tell Amanda, you're dead. You're dead. So I don't understand like how Kyle can be this delusional to think that this is okay, and to think that people are going to side with her. And maybe it's because she surrounded herself with delusional people her whole life that have had her back and told her that she was right. I mean, what I'm realizing is that Kyle's in her Lindsay Hubbard era, where she's not friends with any of these women. She has no one to film with. Who's she going to sit down with besides Sutton and Garcelle on this cast? I mean, she can't have all of her scenes just be with Erica. So it is just very, very frustrating to watch her like playing her cards this season, and her still being so, I mean, there's no other word than delusional to think that this was going to work. Like bringing in this storyline, bringing in these rumors of Dorit and Mo, like it's ridiculous. All of it is like very clear. And what is making me more mad is that she had such little trust in Mo. Like, you're putting this all on Dorit also, by the way. You're not talking about the fact that your man, if there was something inappropriate going on, you're more mad at Dorit than you are at your own husband. She's pointing blame. She's fixated on all of the wrong parts of these stories. And she's really created quite a situation for herself over in Beverly Hills. Because, I mean, right now she has Sutton and Garcelle kind of like willing to film with her, willing to play her little games. But you can tell even up until this episode that they're starting to get sick of it too. And you can only support somebody and have their back so much, even when you're not happy. Like, no matter how much Garcelle and Sutton don't like Dorit, they can only do so much in having Kyle's back when she's bringing up totally ridiculous points too. It's like they tried to have your back. You flopped. And now they're starting to distance themselves too. And I love how in this episode too, Garcelle tells Kyle, like, if you want to be a lesbian, just be a lesbian. Like, why all of this pretending and faking and like acting like it's not going on? Like, oh, it's very, very confusing why she's playing her cards this way this season. Like, she's in what's, I would say, like, she's gaslighting. She is truly gaslighting the cast. And she's projecting every single move that she is making and doing. She's actually projecting that onto Dorit, seeing that Dorit is doing it. And I'm being gaslit. Like, I'm truly being gaslit by her this season. I'm shaking the TV. It's reminding me, it's getting me so heated, reminding me of like last season of Summer House when I'm like, when watching Lindsay expose Carl for using or whatever and all this stuff, and then saying that she didn't do it. And then it's like, but you don't realize that there's cameras that are said, and then doubling down when they show her the footage and then saying, oh no, I never said that. It's like the same idea of like just denying things. And just, if you just stick to your story long enough, it's like people will believe you. But I think we're just waking up to all of this, and we're just seeing that this cannot continue. So Kyle's a big fat flop this season. I'm loving watching her flounder. I mean, we're only like 6 episodes in, so I'm hoping I get like 10 more episodes of just watching her and just, this is all going to lead up to that scene that we see her in the bathrobe with no makeup on. Remember where she like storms out in the trailer and she says she's done? Are we going to get a Kyle Richards quitting this season? Are we going to get that? Now, there were rumors that Kyle and Mo were both seen with their wedding rings back on in Aspen over the weekend. I mean, was there a rekindling? Has this all been from storyline? Now, I want to go back to a little bit of a conspiracy theory that I have had for a while. And that is that, stick with me, this is going to be a little bit out there. But when Erica and Tom, all of this went down, Tom was doing fraudulent things. He was being disbarred. Everybody in town knew that he basically went from having this great reputation and winning all of these awards and being known as just this important fixture of LA to having this huge fall from grace, right? Like going from having the best reputation to literally the worst reputation, being disbarred, being stripped of his license, being put in a home. I mean, that's basically what happened. Now we had to watch Erica distance herself throughout this, right? Like, I didn't know he was doing this. I was just the wife. I was not involved. I don't have any of the money. I wasn't like, she really had to distance herself. She filed for divorce immediately. And everybody was like, oh, is she just doing this to hide assets? Is she doing this to protect herself in the divorce? I believe all of that is true. Yes, I do. I do think that if this had never gotten exposed, Erica would have been with Tom till the day that he died. So the only reason they got divorced is because of Tom's profession and his downfall in his career, which then reflected poorly on them as people, blah, blah, blah. Guilty by association, right? So with Kyle and Mo too, big reputation, huge company, international, worldwide, billion-dollar transactions. All of a sudden, there's stories of Mo in the press, mishandling funds, doing faulty deals. I believe there was anything from him. Don't quote me here. I got to get my girl Rhea on here because she's my real estate. She knows all the real estate stuff. But with Mo, he was doing some kind of transactions where he was potentially, I think, even like bidding on things himself or like selling properties to himself to then resell. There was something going on where he was being investigated. I'm not sure if this has been dropped or if this is still open or what it ever led to, but there was something going on where I remember like this was a big deal. He would probably get stripped of his real estate license. The whole agency would crumble. Everything would go down if he did get proved to be guilty and be doing his operations this way. All of this stuff was started going on right at the time that Kyle announced that her and Mo were separating. Now remember, she says in her confessionals from last season, Mo did something that broke her trust. Every single person thinks that Mo was cheating, but I always said, I don't think that's what it was. I believe that Kyle signs the papers just like Teresa Giudice does, right? Sign, sign, sign. My husband gives me something, sign, sign, sign. I don't know what any of it means. I just do what my husband tells me. I believe Kyle signed some papers, allegedly. Again, oh my God, allegedly. I allegedly believe that Kyle signed some papers. Maybe her signatures were found in some things that weren't supposed to be there. Some faulty loans maybe were given out. Maybe some fraud. And then that is what caused the mistrust with Mo. I don't think it was infidelity. I think she's using that as a front to really cover up the real reason why she separated and started to distance herself from Mo in the business and the agency and all this stuff. That's what I think is going on. Now, going back to why I think that they might be getting back together, if all of this is untrue or if it's going away or if he's been proven, if he's been dismissed, I don't know if these lawsuits have been dismissed against Mo. But in the case that they do get dismissed and he's found, or either that or they don't get dismissed, they go to trial and he's still not found guilty or whatever goes on, then I think Kyle will stay with him. And they will get back together and they will be together. I think that they've been faking this separation to hide and fake their assets, just like how Dorit, how she projects all of her shit onto Dorit. I think she projected all that stuff from Erica too. I think that she was getting mad at Erica for doing this stuff when she was doing it too. I'm sorry, that's just what I believe. A little bit of an out there theory, but I do think that if Mo's name is indeed cleared and the agency goes on to continue to be the agency and nothing ever happens, they will be together. Again, I do think if Mo does get found to be guilty, something goes down, he gets his whatever license taken away, something happens, she'll leave him and they will divorce. So that's just what I have to say. It's just my little theory. Okay, let's talk about Orange County a little bit. So the entire cast has been re-signed back on except for Alexis. So it means including Katie Janela is coming back. Now this is, I did not win this one. I lost this battle. I really thought that Katie was not going to be coming back next season. I thought she was not going to be coming back almost by choice because, I mean, Jen, I think, is her only ally on the show right now. And I don't really think Jen is like that strong of a character. I think everybody's standing Jen last season. Really bad look, really bad move. I think that Ryan's a bad dude. I think that she's going to end up getting herself involved in some really bad situations. And we are not going to be so happy with Jen. I think that the producers are going to bury her. I think they're going to bury her. They're going to use her as a pawn too because they know that she's like not smart enough to understand how a lot of the stuff works. And she's not good at keeping things off camera. And I just have a feeling that she thinks she's going to come back and be like, whoo, I beat Tamra last season. I don't think that she's even prepared for what's about to go down with her next season. So just had to talk about that. I'm sad Katie's coming back. I was hoping that she would get fired and they would bring some other new people in. Looks like Emily's really going to be going for her this season. Not the biggest fan of Emily all the time either, but I think that she does have a very sloppy delivery and she can be a little bit like, I don't know. I don't really like the way that she fights or plays Housewives, but I gotta say that I do sometimes agree with her side of history most of the time. So quick little note about Jen Shah. They've reduced her sentence again. She's going to be out by Thanksgiving 2026. I 100% believe that she will be coming back to Salt Lake City. I think that she'll be coming back, especially with Meredith. Meredith and her seem to be still close, still good friends, still keeping in touch. So I think that that's going to be a really big part of next season. But we don't really know yet. I mean, we're going to watch the finale of Salt Lake City. It's going to be on tonight. And I'm not really sure what's going to happen. It looks like at the reunion, Meredith is not so happy with some of the questions that Andy's asking her, especially about what's going on with her and Seth. And Seth, we know, recently is part of the Big Lots. He's the VP, and they've closed all the locations. I mean, are they having financial troubles? Are they having problems with their, like Andy asks in the trailer, like, Seth, do you have a side chick in Ohio? And I think that, yeah, Meredith is not happy. Andy's going to be coming for her a little bit. So will she quit is my question. Will Meredith quit Salt Lake City? Or will they convince her to stay? Will she stay and film? And will she be the bridge for Jen Shah to come back and film? Because I don't know as of now if there's a space for Jen to come back. She's got to have people to film with. So I'm not sure how they're going to be able to cast people for that. and who's going to be willing to film with her when she gets out of prison. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the stories I had to talk about. I was going to kind of talk about Brynn versus Ubah a little bit, but I'm going to wait until next week to talk more about New York City after we watch the actual finale episode. I'm not really on either of their sides right now. I think that every single one of the New York City housewives should be fired. I think they should reboot the reboot. I'm like sick of all of them. Even Raquel I liked, but I don't think that I don't know, would she be like the main apple holder if we let her come back next season and then we rebuild around her? I'm not sure. I understand why Andy was talking, like why this group of girls is the new New York. I see what he's saying. They're from Brooklyn. They're from downtown. They're working. They have their own businesses. They're different than the Upper East Side women were. So I do get what he was saying, but I do think the casting was still off. I think we got to get rid of Brynn. We got to get rid of Ubah. I want them both to be gone for next season. Okay, fine, bring back Aaron. But if Aaron, Raquel, I mean, they got to do a lot of recasting. They have their work cut out for them. I imagine a pause will be on its way. So, okay, guys, let me get back to the sunshine. Let me get back down to the beach back there because I had to pop on and do this episode with you. So thank you so much for coming in, tuning in. Again, I do not do this because I have to. I do this because I want to. I don't get paid $1. I'm not on a label. I don't have a Patreon. I am here just for your entertainment and for my own entertainment as well. So please make sure you're leaving me 5 stars. You're leaving great comments. You're allowing other people to find me. And please just make sure, you're out there spreading the great word of the Bellas, and make sure that you're subscribed on my YouTube because I will be giving away a 3-day pass to BravoCon this year. So start telling your friends, all your friends that can't afford to go, they better be following my podcast. All right, Bellas, let you get back to your life. Love you all, and I will talk to you when I get back to the U.S. Bye.